Hey there, friend, and welcome back to Mindful Chatting with our series of Awful Thursdays. And this is our slower space where I share the things that have been showing up in my sessions, in my own reflections, on social media, or maybe things that I've noticed people are starting to talk about. So before we start, let's take a deep breath. I want you to grab that comfort drink, your blanket, or just let yourself unclench for just a minute. Today, I want to talk about something kind of sneaky, something that hides behind self-awareness and logic, but actually keeps us stuck. Are you avoiding emotions with your excuses? Let's dive into this. So before we dive in, I want to give you an example of what this might look like, because this episode might be a little confrontational, might be a little challenging for you, but I really want you to take a big, deep look at yourself and see what you're doing. And you also might notice this in others too. So here's what this might look like. I'm just tired. It's really not that deep. I really should not be feeling this way. Well, it could be worse. I only reacted that way because they said this or they did this. On the surface, those statements seem harmless and even rational. But what they really do is create distance, not only between you and that other person, but you and your own emotions. And they protect you. They protect you from discomfort and they bring you comfort. But the cost is connection, not just with them, but with yourself. And avoidance doesn't mean we don't feel. It means we're uncomfortable with what we are feeling. And we use excuses and rationalizations because we don't want to look dramatic or too sensitive, or we're taught to prioritize logic over emotion, or feeling deeply once led to rejection or shame or judgment. So our nervous system learns explaining and justifying and making excuses is safer than feeling. Feeling is no longer safe. And avoidance hides really in plain sight. You could intellectualize your pain instead of actually naming it, because what that might look like is I feel sad. And then we'll go into, well, why do I feel sad? Well, I feel sad because this and this and this happened. Well, that makes sense of why I feel sad. So I feel sad because of this. And so I'm going to focus on that instead of the feeling of being sad. Another one could look like you justify someone else's hurt because confrontation kind of feels unsafe. And because we intellectualize it and justify it, then we never allow them to actually take accountability, but we also never take accountability of how that hurtful behavior made us feel. You could label your sadness as stress, your anger as just being tired, or your fear as just being busy. You're not lying, even though it may seem like it, but you're actually protecting. And that's how I want you to reframe it for yourself. By lying, you're not protecting. So I want to protect myself because how I'm feeling makes it really uncomfortable. Or it may put me in a place to where I might actually have to confront that person. And that's scary. But what happens is because you're protecting, you are also disconnecting from yourself. And when we avoid emotions long enough, they don't disappear. Gosh, do we wish they were. But they just kind of go underground. And that's when emotions can kind of look like irritability, exhaustion, resentment, anxiety, emotional numbness. And here's another truth bomb for you. When we avoid feeling pain, we also dull our capacity to feel joy. And that's a really hard one because we can't subjectively dismiss one emotion. Because if we do that with one, we do it with all of them. And that also includes the good ones. So excuses and explanations aren't evidence of emotional weakness. Really what they're evidence of is emotional survival. So instead of shaming yourself for doing it, I want you to just notice it. And when you notice it that you're doing this, I want you to ask yourself, what emotion am I explaining away right now? Why or what would it feel like if I were to actually sit with that emotion for just 30 seconds? You don't have to fix it. And I think that's also what makes people scared about sitting with emotions is that we don't know how to make ourselves feel better sometimes. Or we're afraid that if we actually sit with the emotion, we'll go deeper and more intensely with it and we won't be able to get ourselves out. But you don't have to fix it. We just have to feel it. And you just have to stop running from it. Because if we skip over the emotions, we're actually not creating change for ourselves. We're just going straight to the solutions and we're skipping over the rest of the stuff. The goal isn't to feel everything all the time. The goal is to stop gaslighting yourself out of what you feel. Because when you start naming emotions instead of excusing them, your healing stops being a theoretical thing and actually starts becoming real for you. Thank you for joining me on another Thoughtful Thursday. And if this resonated, I wanted to let you sit in it for this week. I'm not going to ask you to do anything. All I want you to do is notice the moments you say, I'm fine, or it's fine, when it might not be. And I want you to practice honesty with yourself instead of performing that everything's okay or trying to be perfect. And as always, I want you to be gentle with your mind.